Welcome to Sunday Vibes, hosted by Vibe Unit. We are a collection of musicians located in Benton Harbor, Michigan, with a goal to connect artists with local events and also host our own events, all with the aim of connecting everybody with everyone else and facilitating creativity however we can do that. One of the ways we accomplish that is this Sunday stream, and we broadcast from here once a week, and we touch base with our community, and we talk with local artists or record various creative pursuits, material sets, whatever kind of feeling, or workshop music with various people and kind of report on what's going on around here. So we are broadcasting on YouTube and Twitch. So if you're a part of those platforms, you can find us there. Go ahead and follow us and do all those things while you're there. We really appreciate that. We also have an Instagram as well if you want to keep up with us there. We just kind of started doing stuff with that, though I'm realizing I did nothing with it today when I got here, which is the thing I was trying to start doing. So I apologize for that.
That's right.
But we are trying to make something happen with the Instagram.
Turns out it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's working out. And we also want to thank our donors. So this is all a community-driven, donor-run sort of thing. So none of this would be possible without the support of our community. And we have a list that we've prepared that we love to show. Yeah. That is a list of people that have contributed in various ways, including financially, to help us make all this happen. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And if you're someone who has not done that and you're considering it, go ahead and make the move. We really do appreciate it, and everything helps. I'm trying to think what else we need to relay. We have a way for you to contact us. media@vibeunit.com is our email. If you want to know how you can get involved in Vibe Unit, you can just send us an email there. We're looking for bands and artists and basically sets of original material to live stream here on this platform. So if we can connect with you and provide you with info on how you can get into this, we would love to do that.
That's good.
A lot of ums. I'm trying to think.
I
feel like there's.
Well,
it's almost getting too smooth. You know what I mean? Like we know what we have to do at the front end, and now I just when it's over, I don't know what to do.
We have some upcoming events we're gonna mention now.
Sure.
So it's that time of the month where we're getting ready for the first week of the month. Next April, or this April, we have some events, and the beginning of the month is pretty heavy with open mic nights.
We love that, though.
The first one that we are aware of is the one that happens at the Livery that's hosted by the Benton Harbors Art Association. And I think who you mentioned the person running it.
Yeah, Matt Smith's hosting, so
okay.
that's going to be a good time.
I don't think I've met him.
Really? Matt plays in, he's played in a lot of local groups. I think currently he's playing for Bonehawk.
Okay.
Maybe that rings a bell for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Matt is going to be hosting that. It's going to be a good time. We had a really good turnout last time. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first time we filled the roster since starting the event up again. So that was very encouraging to see. We're hoping for another good turnout type of event here.
That's going to be next Sunday, April 2nd, and signups will begin at 4 at the event, and then we'll start the music at 5, and that will go until 8, and maybe we'll go longer if there's a good turnout, which has happened last couple times. So, also, following that open mic night, the following Wednesday, so in a couple weeks, the Box Factory's Matt Lenny. You may have heard us talk about Matt Lenny on here before. He hosts an open mic night. That's going to be happening on Wednesday, April 5th. I'm assuming, and we'll correct this if I'm wrong, but I think it's the same rules as last time. If you go to mattlenny.com/open mic, you can find signups there. And those signups will be open until 1 hour before the event starts. And Matt said he's willing to play backing tracks. Granted, you have a way to get a standard 1/4-inch jack out of your device. So if you want to do that, bring the proper adapters. And also, I think that because the last time the open mic night there had quite a few participants, I think they recognize that's something they want to keep doing. So
that's good.
But that means be there if you want to see these kind of things continue.
Even if you don't have anything to perform, like just to come out and kind of support the event going on, like just it existing and other people coming out to show off their stuff. I mean,
John
it's
and I
all
had
appreciated.
such a wonderful time at the last event. There was a couple standout artists that we talked about on here, and I was really impressed with what I saw going on there. It seemed to be a very welcoming environment for, and Matt Lenny's such a good guy. We've gotten to know him and connect with him. We're hoping to, we'll mention this in a minute, but we're hoping to have him on. We confirmed, we're pretty much confirmed on the second Sunday next month of having him on, so our audience can get to know Matt Lenny, an artist and I guess you could say he's an artist, a writer. He's got an album that came out, and he's going to do a album release show, and all that stuff's going to be happening next month. So be on the lookout for that.
I'm excited to have Matt on and have a conversation.
Yeah,
it's been really cool to kind of get to know him a little bit, and like I said, hear his music and see what he's doing over there at the box. So.
And there's a lot we don't know about him, and we're excited to find out those things out.
You'll all learn right along with us then. We're really kind of looking forward to that. So,
okay, and then the last event I want to just mention, and this is kind of a ways out, not this weekend, not this following weekend, but the weekend after that. So this will be April 8th. We're going to do our open studio again. So what this is it's an opportunity to come check out the studio, hang out with John and I, and there may be some other folks that come through, musicians, people hanging out and just kind of networking. It's kind of a low pressure hangout for musicians or artists or whatever. If you're just interested in seeing the studio, come on down, hang out with us. The last couple times we've had a really like a good turnout, and the fact it was kind of a small turnout, but it was still exciting just to have that low pressure hangout time.
We definitely made something of it both times.
We made something of it both times.
This time we will have a promo
we'll do a better job promoting it. I really dropped the
you.
ball last time on that because I felt like we had done a lot of discussion internally about the event, and then like the day of it comes and I'm like, oh yeah, we didn't really we didn't promote that as heavily as I planned on. Now, part of it is we are doing the second Saturday thing, right? So there's something to be counted on there, but we can still remind you. So we will make sure we do that.
And in addition to that, a couple other things. If you are planning on coming and you want to make noise, bring the thing that makes noise, be it a guitar or some music or it's a keyboard or whatever. We have a lot of things here. We can help get you sounding loud so you can participate. And then that begins at 2 p.m. and we are wrapping things up at 4 p.m. We're excited to meet you and hope to have you come hang out with us because it's always a lot of fun, and we crave getting to know people. We really do. So, again, that's going to be Saturday, April 8th, and it starts at 2, ends at 4. Hope to see you there. So, all right. So let's get into some hangout time. So, John, how's your week?
It's going, I'm here. I made it through another one, wrote some songs, worked on some stuff, like kind of, I'm sure we all have, but nothing like major, just kind of keep at where we're at.
It's really cool seeing you've been in a flow state writing, and it's been fun to watch that. So
very inspirational.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think I'm excited for folks to be able to hear your music and we can share it. I know that we're a ways out from that, but it's really cool what you're working on. So,
well, we've got some time to spend on that as well. Like the two of us, having you come over and kind of run the engineering when
which
I
I've been
when
really
I need
enjoying
to
too.
do the thing I'm doing, which at that point in the process is typically vocal oriented.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really nice. I mean, it's going to take time for us to go through all of the material and get finals on everything, but I'm feeling really good about the bits of that process that I have to be prepared for before that.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's enough stuff in the queue right now that any given Thursday you could come through and there's something we could work on.
Because I want to get some work done.
Ben says, looking forward to hearing the music flow.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really excited about it too. It's different. But it's me, and for better or for worse, it's it's going to be out there at some point. So
yeah, it's really inspiring. I'm shocked at like just the amount of completion. It sounds so completed already, and so like, the vision is so you can conveyed the vision very well and effectively. And
Thank you.
Very proud.
like there's no room for ambiguity. It's really really well expressed.
You know how much I love ambiguity. Which, to be honest, that's a struggle, right? Because like, how do you use like metaphors when you only want to be concrete?
Right.
In reality, like, it's a tough
it's a
line.
balance, yeah.
It's a tough line. So how do you be I don't know, creative and artistic with the way you explain something without being like cryptic and like weirdly philosophical in a way that like doesn't even make sense, but people do that. I don't judge anybody else's style. I just
Well, that's not what you want.
That's the toughest part for me probably in writing. I want to be very specific and very concrete, but there's not really any art in concrete. You have to like you got to find something else to make it work. You use
a lot of metaphors, but they're kind of anchored to something concrete.
I try to, yeah. But we'll see what happens. The idea is to do. I'm still conflicted about it. I don't know if I'm trying to like complete like a collection kind of project. I don't know. You'll have to see if you even think any of this stuff goes together. It might be the kind of thing I just drop 10 singles. I just don't know.
Certainly, the one you showed us before, the new one, and then the one you showed us last time, those two work together very well. So
they were made with similar palettes, so those I would say probably could live together.
Artists do that a lot. How often do you hear of an artist that releases an album and they're like, these are songs I was also working on around this time. These are just bonus tracks. They didn't fit on the record, but like I know you all want to hear them.
Well, it could be something like that then. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now, I think I looked through the folder this morning, and as far as we'll call it, songs that have made the cut so far, because there are, like you said, there's probably another handful of 4 or 5 songs that I also really like. I don't know if they're for this project, but there's a good 6 or 7 that I like. They made the cut. It's just a matter of can I make them work with each other.
I'm pretty close to you in your writing process, and I get to hear and experience a lot of your music, but even I don't know how deep the iceberg goes of content you have. Like it's I'm excited to just see like and explore that more, over the next however many years.
Well, we kind of had a conversation last week about some of these things, and I will say this week was definitely just a week of spark chasing, and that's all it was.
Well, it's on the heels of last conversation we had on here. That's
like I was explaining, and I mean you haven't heard the song, right, all of you, but the song that I was working on last night, Mike and I came down here to get together, and I've been down here like practicing drums most evenings at some point, just trying to like get some kind of chops back, I guess, though I never really considered myself to be a great drummer, but like anything else, the more time you spend on it, you can at least fake it better, right? So I'm trying to spend the time, right? Because the best I ever got away with doing it was when I was consistent about it.
Yeah.
And I found that to be true of a lot of other things too.
Nothing says a great drummer like consistent.
Well, I don't mean consistent like my playing is consistent. I mean I'm sticking to showing up to practice consistently.
I'm sure that folds over somehow.
Maybe at some point. But it's not, it doesn't guarantee anything. I mean, you can practice the wrong thing, right?
Sure.
And that's what I'm constantly worried about. Like, I don't have any input from people who have the right training.
If Ben's watching right now.
Yeah, if Ben's watching. I'm glad you haven't seen what I've been doing for the last week.
Oh, he probably has. I mean, you've been posting it on your Instagram.
That's true.
So he's probably, he's
Don't look at my hands.
Hey, I'm pretty certain knowing the kind of guy Ben is, he's all about it, man.
I keep telling him, you got to come down here and show me how it's done. So.
Oh, we'd love that. Even just to hang out off stream, man. You and your wife.
But yeah, the idea is that we come down here. Well, at least I've been coming down here to practice, and then we kind of had a conversation where we've been trying to do a little bit of rhythm section stuff.
Yeah.
We've been playing a lot of bass lately. So it's like, well, if the paths
it's
will
such
cross,
a good pairing, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
Little bass,
Ben
little drums.
says I have. Thanks for posting to Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for checking it out. You can tell I'm really not happy about it when I post the one with no audio.
Yet you still post, and we love that.
Anyways,
Well, it'd be nice
I'm just
if I could
throwing
hear
myself under the bus, man. This is fun.
Are you just posting without audio?
I did a couple nights because
Is
I
that because
listened
you're
to it
just
and I was like,
frustrated with-
God, it's
I
so
love that you
off.
still post it though.
I
That's
have
great.
to.
John's an audiophile to some degree, so he's got to make sure the audio sounds good. That's why you're like motivated to get the gear to.
Well, it's not even about the audio being good. I'm saying like you can it's more okay. So the reason I was even posting any of that was just more for myself because I want to be able to go back in like 60 days or whatever it ends up being whenever I think about it more deeply again and just see. Like compare like we'll just say day 1 video to like day 50 video or whatever, like what's different.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah,
So it's more
that
about
makes sense.
I want like 5 to 10 seconds of something, just some sort of way for me to glance at and go, what, like let me get a read on that. Like what was I doing then? And then maybe at the end of it all, I was seeing there's some kind of feature thing where you can just like you could basically just like select a bunch of stories and just turn it into a reel. So I was going to do that and just see what happens if I pick every one of my drum practice videos. Like, what do I get at the end of that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but we'll see. So that's the plan. It's really just archival and, like, proof that, like, yeah, I came down and did the thing I said I was going to do for myself.
To reel it back before we went on that tangent, you were talking about coming down here and drumming. I was coming down here and playing bass. So you're talking about the song you were writing.
Yeah. Well, so that's where we're headed with this. So
Yeah.
So when we got here to like get together to practice, like it was like I got here before you did and didn't really have a plan. Like there's when we come down here to do that, everything's already set up, so there isn't really tasks for me to complete. So I just sat down at the piano, and I was hearing. It was a weird night. Like I went to a concert last night at the Livery, and a real good group played there, and it just had me just
doing
thinking about
things
a bunch
that
of
I'd
stuff.
be jealous of.
Yeah, exactly. Like they were just absolutely crushing last night. And then like I get here and I sat down at the piano and I could just like hear this melody, like a couple notes of it, and just started trying to put some chord voicings around it and like find some kind of word or something that would make sense. And like, yeah, I found the right stuff. And so in like the 10 minutes it took for you to get here, I had something kind of written out. But that's what it is. It's like if I had sat down and been like, okay, I have 10 minutes, before Mike gets here. Let's see if we can write a song. Like that never would have worked. It's just
you just had the flow state.
I was in a weird spot and didn't really know how to express it, and the piano was there, and I don't know. The spark was, like I said, I heard a couple of notes that I was like, I think that's the melody, or maybe what it's supposed to be. And normally when I hear that kind of stuff, I just go, whatever.
I don't know if I've ever experienced that before.
Lately, it's been more like, that might be something. I should just see what goes with that.
Yeah.
And if it does, I'll do something with it.
That's so cool.
But I played something for you last night, which is pretty rough.
It was bare bones. I
don't know if it even like to you resembles what I showed you today.
The only thing that resembles is the melody you were singing and the chord structure. So
sure.
I mean, everything else I couldn't imagine it was going to be like that. When you shared it to me and the way you took it and it's got this. I don't want to talk about it too much and get people excited and start asking you about it.
You can talk about it.
I just want to talk about it because my first impressions of it is I love, first off, the dynamics are important in this and your choice of instrumentation and all these things. Like when you showed it to me, and Ash and I would probably agree, the feeling of it, the way you conveyed the emotion and then the way it builds up with the music and the dynamics were good. It's rough still. I mean, you said yourself you got work to do on it, but what matters more than anything is the groove is correct. You expressed it accurately. The emotion is there.
Very moving.
It's moving. It doesn't matter how rough it is. That's a sign of a good song, man.
Well, we'll see. Don't careful. Don't talk it up too much.
Well,
but
you just told me I could. So
I'm excited about it. I said characteristically. You can talk about its characteristics.
There's a lot of authenticity.
Well, unfortunately for you, I don't know the difference.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, the point is, if you got an idea and something grabs you, go and do something with it.
Yeah.
And it may not work. Like, I'll be honest, man. I sat down at the piano 4 times, I bet you, this week, thinking that there was something, like with a piece of something. And pretty quickly, you just are able to figure out, like, nah, that wasn't anything. That was just something. There was nothing that didn't like lead to a connection to anything.
To write something a couple times, and
not like attempted to write so much, just more like
you thought you saw a spark.
I thought I heard or felt or saw a spark, and I chased it a little bit, and then found out there wasn't really anything to chase there, and that's okay. You just come up empty sometimes.
It's kind of like you're trying to start not trying to start the car. I don't know how you say it. I guess it's not like that at all. It's maybe you think you saw like a treasure and you go for it and then you realize, okay, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was.
But you keep going.
But you're still kind of like thinking about it. You're still kind of connected to that world a little bit, but it's kind of like you're waiting for that opportunity. It's like catching a wave, maybe.
Kind of. It's like on a sunny
I'm trying
day
to
when
think
there's
of
a
a
bunch of
metaphor.
clouds, right? And you want to stand in the sun, right? But
Mhm.
like the spot where the sun is moves around. Like sometimes you go to that
That's
spot
a good
and then the clouds
analogy
cover it,
visually.
and now there's not sun there anymore, and that's fine. It was sunny for a while, but it's not now.
Yeah.
And then, if you really want the sun that bad, you look around and you go, well, there looks like there's some sun over there. I could go sit there maybe.
No.
But sometimes, you might look around and you're like, well, it's just a big cloud and it's not really shining anywhere. Like, that's fine too, I guess. But that's kind of what you're looking
Yeah.
for, I guess. But I've just been finding a lot of inspiration in the chase, if that makes sense.
That's cool. Like, so you're not focused on, like you already said this, but you're not focused on writing a song. You're focused
Not
on
even a
You're
little.
focused on following your spark, your interest,
That's it.
the thing that's, I guess, like something intrigues you. You follow it and see where the line goes, and it might not go anywhere, but it could go somewhere.
might
in
not,
which
but
case, yesterday you wrote a song, and then this morning you bring in that one, and he. Yesterday he's showing me this song that he came up with. I mean, we're here pretty late. It was probably like midnight.
I think one is like when we left.
Yeah,
be
we
honest.
talked for a little bit, had a good time, played some music. By the way, really enjoying that. I'm glad you're doing that consistently. It allows me, when I can, to come down and play too, because I need a lot of practice, and having a real drummer to practice with is really nice.
I feel the same way about bass.
I feel spoiled about it, actually.
Because like the thing is, if I'm listening to the pre-tracked bass
Mhm.
on some of those, it's like, I don't know what the word I would use to describe it. I'm not gonna say boring. It's just it's so.
It's not dynamic.
That's not even the word. It just doesn't.
Well, it could be.
It forces me to have to play around it because that's the other half of my rhythm section.
That's kind of
right?
what I mean by dynamic, because when we're together, I can adjust with you. And
Yeah, we can take a little bit of
Mhm.
bit of liberty with it, not like rhythmically, but pattern wise.
Yeah, and you can feel it out. Like,
Whereas, like, if it was the pre-track bass, like, if the pattern's a certain thing, it's either I have to find a pattern that works with that, like, perfectly, even though
Mhm.
it isn't that, which that's difficult if you don't have a super deep well of chops to pull from, or you just have to play to whatever it is.
right.
Because if you don't do that, it isn't going to sound like you're married, and
Yeah.
that has to be. If you don't have bass and drums,
It's so much
married,
more
you don't
natural
need
when
it.
you're doing it in real time with
Yep.
somebody. And I've always felt like, I mean, there's things that happen that I wanted to talk a little bit about this book I'm reading in a
Sure.
minute, but I want to finish this conversation. But just kind of like as a prelude to what I want to talk about that I'm learning about in this book, when you're playing with somebody and you're practicing that way, there's so many like dynamics that happen in terms of like you play differently, the volumes you choose, like things that are subconscious you don't even think about, and the music sounds so like real, so lively, and all these things. And when you're playing to like pre-recorded music, those things just they existed at that time and place, but they don't exist in the moment you're in at that time. And these are things that you have to almost like, coming from like computer work and stuff and like having to fabricate all these things, you start to appreciate how I understand why people are like, computer music sounds so boring and robotic and stuff. At least early on, a lot of people felt that way. It's changed now, I think, significantly changed with a lot of the tools we have. But like when you're playing with someone in real time, a lot of those subconscious like dynamic things happen, and it's just so much more interesting. And it's just all the subconscious things. Like maybe even down to like a note I play, like if I play a note and I see you're going for that kick drum, I might change my mind on where I'm gonna go. Like hearing that half a second change, like I don't know. It's always been something really interesting to think about for me. Anyway, I went on a little bit of a rant there, but
Oh, you're fine. It's been a great time, honestly. I've enjoyed it deeply myself.
But I come down here, you're writing that song, or you had the song idea, you're on the piano, you're like, I had the song idea, okay, you're playing it. Sounds awesome. I picked up the guitar and was just kind of messing around a little bit and stuff, but I was mainly listening. And then this morning I come in, and granted we left pretty late, but you come in this morning and you're like, oh yeah, I've got this whole thing produced now.
Yep. It's a problem.
I was like, oh, wow, what a turnaround. And then you're like, I got it with me. You want to hear it? I'm like, okay. And Ash and I hear it, and we're like, holy cow. Like, that was one night of work. And now, I guess, like, the thing that you mentioned earlier is, like, you tried chasing sparks throughout the week. So you could argue that a lot of that stuff was brewing, and your opportunity to score has to do with, like, the 20 years of work you put into palette chase and to do all these other things.
Okay. Boy. You make me want to just jump down a hole with that. But there's something to that.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up to score.
The sounds of this record, I've literally been curating for 20 years.
Yeah.
I know exactly what I want, and I've always known what I want. I couldn't get it all to sit the right way.
It just wasn't right yet.
I don't know what it is, but something happened, and it's right enough.
Yeah.
It's not right. It's just right enough to do something with. So it's nice to kind of like pull out of that again. And not be spending the time. And that there's probably something to be said for that. You know, like we were talking before, like when you have to switch gears all the time, if you're working on creative stuff, it's hard sometimes to know which things are part of what functionality you're supposed to be providing for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Like, am I writing right now? Am I choosing sounds right now? Am I picking a tempo right now? Like, what am I doing right now?
Well, we talked a lot
that's
about
tough.
that being difficult. Like, remember how we talked about how it's very frustrating to go from, like, you've designed a rhythm section, but then you want to move on to play some melodies or some bass lines or whatever. Then you recognize you want the dynamics to shift in a certain way, but you have to shift your brain off of the task you're doing back to drum programming. And drum programming, like, drum programming is not, it's its own entire thing. Like, it's entirely different, like, mindset. It's not, when you're working on a computer and you're programming drums, by the way, just so you know, I enjoy that. That's actually really fun for me. I've learned that I've really just messing with velocities and those things, like, really is fun, but it's a task that requires a lot of concentration, a lot of repetitiveness.
Oh yeah.
It's not fun from a musical standpoint, like in terms of like real-time music enjoyment.
Nope.
It is fun in the sense of like a mathematical, like maybe like mechanical sort of way, where you're kind of like, you know, but when you have to shift to that task, it's very left brain. It's not creative at all, other than like maybe little creative decisions. But when you're putting in the patterns, there's things that work, and you are really reliant on your logic and you're pulling from more logical things. So that's frustrating, man.
Yeah. But like you said, if you chase
Mm-hmm.
and you have this idea of like, it's okay if I don't always catch anything.
Mm-hmm.
When you do catch something, it feels really good.
Definitely. It's like a wave,
Because
man.
you didn't force it at all. It just you just came. You just got it. So yeah, I don't know. That's maybe hopefully somehow useful to somebody else. But if
It's useful to me.
if something comes, you know, like don't deny it. Like go and grab it and see if it's something. Maybe it's not, but it could be.
It's interesting you say that, because I used to do this thing where a song would come together very easily. I probably was chasing the spark but didn't realize it. And I would take that for granted. I'm like, this thing went so well. Like, let's do something else now. Maybe that will go well. And then I wouldn't have it. It's like, I think I've done that a lot. And it's like,
Same. I've forced it a lot, and like it doesn't make any sense. And
it's like I should have been just enjoying the thing I got going.
but it also might be true that it literally took until this point to have everything set up to score. I don't know.
Sure.
That there's probably something to that.
So
Because like for this record, like I said, I haven't been spending much time doing sound design or anything. I mean, it's been grabbing pieces of things I've been working on for a long time in terms of like sounds and instruments, things like that. So it does take away some of the frustration of doing those task switchy kind of things. Because by the time you're actually sitting down to put the idea down, at least for me lately, all the lyrics have been there before I've sat down at the DAW. And that's something else I've been really trying to force. Like, unless I have a solid structure, I'm not going to go and try to force one into like into like the computer or like software. It doesn't work that way to me. I used to do that a lot. And now what I do is I'll sit there, like the song I showed you today. The first version of it, the first Logic file there is of it, is me playing with no tempo, no metronome, just making sure I knew what the vocal chain was supposed to sound like, so I wouldn't have to think about it for the rest of the work.
Exactly.
Right?
That kind of stuff's awesome.
So like it's not a great recording and it's very off tempo, but it was useful for that, right? So by the time I had played that, it was very obvious where the pauses need to go, what the tempo should be, kind of what the dynamics were. It's like, oh, well, now that I have that, let's do another one, basically what I did there, but let's run the click this time so that at least what I'm doing on keys is right. And then I did that, then went back, demoed my own vocal over those keys, and then just built everything else around it. Because by that point, it's like the structure is exactly what I had planned out.
Yeah.
You're just making decisions on what layers belong where. And that works really well for me. And that's why it went really quickly today.
You're like curating the content, and then you get to play with it in creative sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that's the way the process has been looking for me.
Yep.
Now I want to know what's in that book.
Well, okay, so I got it. So, okay, a little backstory. I'm going to start reading this book. Now, I have a friend. Well, we both have a friend that I introduced you to that lived at the condos that I worked at for a long time. I have known this guy for a long time, but didn't really get to know him until the last year. It turns out, and he's a guest I'd like to have on here, by the way. Turns out he was involved in a lot of different things in Chicago for the music worlds going on over there. Like, I think at some points he was a promoter. I know he was like an ASCAP writer. Like he was what do you call that exactly? He was, the copyright. He was he would write music for that. Like basically copyright or whatever. I don't know. I exactly don't know what the title was. But he's a musician. He's a writer, composer, all these things. But he's been involved in like, venues and like promoting, getting bands gigs, and also protecting the right of artists and stuff. Just a fascinating guy all around to talk to. Well, we've gotten to hang out with him and get to know him and his wife. His name's Ken. So Ken, he hits me up out of the blue, and he says, "I have some fake books. Do you want them?"
I sure do.
And I said yes. Now, if you are wondering what a fake book is, probably because you're not a jazz musician, or maybe you don't play gigs where it's like
standards
on request. It's like, yeah. So typically what a fake book is it's like, I'd say you have music that's written for bands and stuff, and they're usually like, there's like two types of way of writing music out. You can write it with like staff music, where you play like, each instrument will have their own version of the music that tells them their parts or whatever. Well, a fake book is it's not. I think it's like unofficially licensed sheet music for just knowing what the chords are and what the melody is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's unlicensed transcriptions of chord voicings and typically a melody line to so that you can create the impression you know how the song works.
Right. So what
if you've never seen it before.
So what a fake book can do, and I have probably 12 of them right now, and they're all like this thick, and they have tons of music, popular hits ranging from the last 60, 70 decades, or 70 years, 7 decades. And it's been really cool. I've been thumbing through them and stuff, and I was working my way through them, and then I find this book in there. And, I know Ken slipped this book in there and didn't say a thing about it. But I know that he wanted me to read it because he included it. It was not this is not a fake book. This is actually a book called The Craft and Business of Songwriting by Jon how do you say? Would you say that? Breheny? Braheny?
Oh, boy.
Breheny? Breheny?
Braheny.
This book was published in 1988, I believe, late 80s. And it's funny because I just suspect Ken knew I'd find that book in there and read it, and of course I am going to read it. But I haven't read it straight through. I've thumbed through it just to kind of see if anything pops out at me, and we've been talking a lot about dynamics on here, and we've been talking a lot about how to make your music feel very have emotion to it and all these other things. So I'm thumbing through it, and I find a page that talks about dynamics, and so I start reading it. I'm like, this is appealing to me, especially considering what we've been talking about a lot lately. So this book was obviously written in the 80s, so it's going to be a little outdated in some concepts, but a lot of the concepts still apply. And one of the things that it talks about in there when it's talking about dynamics is it says one way you can really distinguish, or producers can distinguish between a good song and a bad song, is attentiveness to dynamics. Does your music change dynamics? Does it have very soft parts and really loud parts? Is it expressive? Is it, and those kind of things are important. And I just thought that was really fascinating. And so I'm going to finish reading this book, and that's really all I got to say about the book right now, actually. But
I'll borrow it when you're done. I'd like to read that.
That'd be awesome. We can probably use this as a guide for a lot of things, because it's not just talking about songwriting. It's also talking about like the business side of music making. Now this, again, it was written a while in the 80s, so some of the ways you would promote your music in the 80s is certainly different than it is now. We have
it's an old industry though,
Mm-hmm.
like it's an industry full of legacy stuff.
Yeah.
Like
important
I'm very
stuff.
sure that there's plenty of information in here that is still highly relevant, even if various platforms, distro, things like that like didn't exist when that was written.
Mm-hmm.
The basic idea of what you're supposed to take away from this book, I'm sure is still there.
Exactly, and that's why I'm excited to read it. And so I'll kind of I think what I'm going to do is I might here and there mention some things I'm reading about if something stands out to me, and then of course you can read it too, and maybe we can have more of a conversation that's informed about it. But so far, in the small few paragraphs I've read, it's been really good read, and I just want to thank Ken for throwing this book in there and not mentioning anything about it. I think Ken understands the kind of person I am, where it's like if someone tells me to do something, I typically won't. I don't know if he actually recognizes that in me or not, but I am that kind of person, so I appreciate him just throwing it in there, I'm sure he's got other books too. I might have to ask him. But with the fake books and with this, and he also threw in some CDs in there too. There's some CDs I haven't even listened to yet, and thank goodness I have a CD player. I can actually listen to them. But yeah, I got a lot of reading to do, but man, am I enjoying it. And I actually didn't consider myself a reader for a long time, but it turns out I actually do like reading when it's something I really enjoy reading about.
It's kind of where I'm at. I used to do a lot more reading, but you get busy with stuff, and reading just never seems like a priority. But I have found it to be, especially in the last month or so, very enlightening. I've been doing a lot of reading myself, so stick at it. Except the sooner you're done with it, the sooner I can borrow it and read it. So I'm into that. That's awesome.
So anyway, that's all I got, and hopefully we can keep up the Instagram posts this week. You and I both, I think, have been hitting that and
trying. I've lost a little steam. I feel like because it's crazy because I got busy with other stuff that it was productive. So
I was gonna use Instagram to use the story or whatever. I'm still learning Instagram. Okay, I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff because I just don't care about it that much, but I'm recognizing that it's such a great way to just kind of let people know what you're up to. And
that's literally it. It's not the goal isn't like, oh, look at me. It's just like, hey, I'm still here, still
honestly
doing the thing that I was doing before. If you want to maybe do it with me or something,
I've had over the last 5 years people ask me, are you still doing music? And there's not been a day in the last 5 years I haven't done something music related or learned something. And it's like Instagram is kind of making that conversation a little easier because now they're not asking me if I'm doing music. They're like, hey, I saw that thing you did. Tell me about it. Or vice versa. They're like, hey, I like doing music too. You should look at what I'm up to. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm down. It's not that at all. I thought it was like a kind of look at me sort of situation, but it turns out it's more of like a, hey, I don't have to communicate to you I'm doing this thing because you can come look and see what I'm up to.
Yeah,
It's
I'd rather do that than text 20 people and be like, hey, are you busy right now? You want to work on something?
Right. It's a lot more respectful.
Like, hey,
this
I'm in the
way.
basement. I'm doing the thing I always do. You want to come out, you know?
Now you can post about it. If someone happens to see it and they're interested in coming over, they might hit you up.
Yeah, and people have, like, for me at least, you know, I've gotten messages from people saying, oh, that's cool. I like that. Like, what are you going to do with that? And it's like, oh, okay, maybe we should talk more or whatever. So it's led to some other conversations. So that's cool.
It started out with me posting a couple of things with synthesizer stuff, but then I quickly devolved into me just making kaleidoscope art.
That's something we were talking about yesterday too. We should maybe that's something we should talk about in here is like how the kind of the visuals of some of this and what we've been looking at with that. That could be fun to play with.
I'm obsessed with kaleidoscope art, so if you all keep following me, I'm sure you'll see a lot of it. I didn't realize how much it enamored me. But I've fallen in love with just like rotational symmetry, and I will be doing that periodically throughout the rest of my life, I think.
Amazing.
I'm just obsessed with it.
I found my thing.
I found this. I was using an Instagram plugin for it, but then I realized there's better apps out there you can actually look for that have more features. So now I have an app that lets me like change how many rotational symmetry, like what do you say, how many parts it's divided up and how many like reflections there are. I don't even know what the actually official term for it is, but you can like change how many there are and you can do some wild things with it. Just and when one of my last pieces that I posted on my story, I just took some black lines and I noticed that when you do like a single line, like a single black line, and you film it and you move it around and stuff, it looks like the line's dancing. It's like, oh, that's so sick.
Ben says, what is the name of the app?
The app I got, it's called, oh man, it's like got kaleidoscope in the name, and I'll have to look. I'll get back with you on that. I'm sure your wife is probably wondering. Possibly.
Find out, yeah.
I'll find out, and I'll try to let you know. But I think it's called like Kaleidogram or something. It was something like that, you know. And I think it's an older app. And I think there's other ones out there. But if you look up Kaleidoscope on the App Store, there's several, and look for some that are free and don't have any ads on them. Those. I mean, it's not very difficult to make an app like that. John was actually telling me last night that there's a way we could probably reverse or do it ourselves with some things. So.
Yeah, I'd really like to play around with some of that.
So anyway, sorry, I got carried away with talking about Kaleidoscope stuff.
Fine, man. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah,
we're here to talk about what's getting us going creatively, man.
That's true. That's true.
You were gushing about it last night, and you still are now. You're onto it,
dude.
So you got to do something with it.
I'm obsessed with it. I have some other ideas of things I want to try, but we'll see how that goes.
You'll see it here, folks.
Maybe
we'll have to show.
Be cool to project it on the wall.
That's
something.
what I want to try. I want to bring some projectors down here and maybe darken it out a little bit and make some of the lighting a little more indirect and see what we can do on the walls.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Or maybe even the floor, whatever. I mean.
I like that we kept the walls white because I think
secretly I always had that in mind that we'd be able to use them as just like.
I didn't want anything that would like characterize the space that we couldn't just quickly change if we needed to. Like that was always like one of the reasons why we were dragging our feet on some of that. Like when you think of like painting.
If anybody wants to get crazy and is into that kind of thing, I have had an idea in mind of basically edge blending projectors for every wall surface in here that can be seen.
Huh. Yeah, like we talked about like putting stuff on the walls, like, you know, we talked about like, or we've had suggestions of like murals or things like that, but it's like, it's just too.
What if you could just turn this place into the forest or the mountains?
Yeah,
or whatever?
if you could
that'd be crazy, dude.
We could if we locked in too hard to a character of this place, we didn't want to get kind of pigeonholed into something. So, but a projector that can project images. Well, now you don't have to commit to anything, and no matter what band comes in here, you can set the vibe up for them. That's a really cool thing. Like not everyone wants to have like the same mural behind them every time, right?
True.
So I don't know. I think if anyone's into like that kind of thing and it's the kind of thing too where you could submit art, like digital art, to us, and we could project it if you want.
It's the intersection of like.
It's just a lot more inclusive, I think, to do that.
Absolutely.
So.
Cool. Well, I'm hoping to get into some of that soon. That'd be a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, let's do the sign off then. Let's just say one more time. Check the beginning of the episode for upcoming events. We won't get into those again. But also, just I do want to mention one more time that we are looking for bands and artists. And
if you have a set ready, let us know. We want to have it on.
Yep, media@vibeunit.com.
And then we want to thank our donors.
Yep, thank
None
our
of this is
donors.
possible without you, so we thank you so much. I don't know of any other business.
I think
that we
that's
need to
it.
handle. I
So-
think that's it.
All right, see you next week.
Yep. Session 5. Goodbye.
See you later.